In the records of the oldest civilization that refuses to call itself a religion, there is a date that shows up 3 times in the same life. Once, on the night a boy was born in a grove of sal trees. Once, on the dawn, a man sat beneath a pipal tree and for the first time in recorded history did not flinch. Once, on the evening, an 80-year-old teacher lay down between 2 sal trees and spoke the 2 sentences his entire life was trying to say. Same calendar day, 45 years apart. No one has ever explained why. That moon rises again this Sunday, May 3rd, and for the next 12 minutes, I want to walk you through the life it belongs to, not as a religion, as a story, because almost nobody tells it like this. There is a mother who died 7 days in. There is a prince who grew up inside a museum. There is a village woman with a bowl of rice milk who no book names first, but without whom the Buddha does not exist. And there is one last meal the old man ate alone and let no one else touch. This is the story of the full moon of Vaishakha, episode 4 of Shubh Katha. There are 3 events in the life of Siddhartha Gautama that the tradition holds happened on the same lunar day. He was born on that day. He was awakened on that day. And he died on that day. 45 years separate the first from the last. The moon in the sky, on the night he was born, was the same moon at the same phase as the moon on the night he was enlightened, and the moon on the night he was gone. The mother was Mahamaya of the Shakya clan. Her husband was King Shuddhodana, whose kingdom sat in the foothills of the Himalayas. Before she conceived, she had a dream. A white elephant with 6 tusks entered her right side. The court priests interpreted it the same morning. Your son will be one of 2 things. He will be a universal king or a universal teacher, nothing in between. When her time came, she set out to travel to her parents' home for the birth. She never arrived. At a grove outside a town called Lumbini, she stopped to rest, held the sheltered branch of a sal tree, and gave birth standing, without pain. Gave birth. The boy was called Siddhartha, he whose purpose is accomplished. This is the part the children's books do not tell. 7 days after Siddhartha was born, Mahamaya died. The boy who was prophesied to understand impermanence better than any human who had lived was born into it before he had a name for it. His first teacher on the subject of attachment was her absence. He was raised by his aunt Mahapajapati, who loved him as her own. Shuddhodana was not interested in a world teacher son. He wanted a world king son, a conqueror. So he built the boy a world, 3 palaces, one for each season, filled with music and servants and the young. Anyone who became old was quietly sent elsewhere. Anyone who became sick was removed. Anyone who died vanished before the boy saw it. Siddhartha grew up inside this curated world for 29 years. He married. He had a son, Rahula. He learned every art a prince was supposed to learn. But he had a quality his father did not expect. He was serious. He watched everything. And by the time he was 29, he had begun to suspect that what he was being shown was not all of the world. One day he asked his charioteer Chana to take him out, past the palace gates. On the first trip, he saw an old man, bent, grey, being led by a child. Chana told him, "This is old age. It comes to everyone." On the second trip, he saw a man racked with sickness, hollow-eyed, mouth open. This Channa said, also comes to everyone. On the third, he saw a corpse carried to the cremation ground. Channa said, the last of the three. The fourth trip was different. He saw a man walking alone, shaved head, simple robe, bowl in his hand, neither young nor old in bearing, unafraid. A wanderer, a seeker, someone who had left the world to try to understand it. Siddhartha went back to his palace that evening. He did not sleep. That night, he went into the inner chamber. He looked at Yashodhara asleep, his infant son in her arm. He did not wake them. He did not say goodbye. If he had, the old tellers say, he would never have left. He woke Channa. He mounted his horse Kanthaka. They rode out in darkness. At the edge of the kingdom, he stopped, took his sword, cut off his long black hair with one stroke, exchanged his silk clothes with a hunter on the road for the hunter's rough yellow cloth, gave the horse to Channa and told him to go home, and walked into the forest alone at the age of 29. He found the teacher said to be greatest of the age, Alara Kalama, Uddaka Ramaputa. He reached the highest meditation they knew, and it was not enough. So he tried the opposite, 6 other ascetics, extreme mortification, 1 grain of rice a day, holding his breath until his ears roared. 6 years. At the end, he could put his hand on his belly and feel his spine through it. He had almost killed himself to be the greatest of them. He had learned for certain that starvation was not awakening either. A young village woman named Sujata had made a vow to a tree. If her child was healthy, she would make an offering. She cooked rice in milk, put it in a golden bowl, carried it to the tree. Under the tree sat Siddhartha. She saw him and thought, it must be the tree god himself. Who else could be so thin and so shining? She placed the bowl before him and bowed. He did not refuse. He ate. The 5 ascetics, watching from a distance, were disgusted. They said, he has given up, and they walked away and left him alone. This is how the Buddha's companions abandoned him before enlightenment, because he ate from a woman's hand. He understood now. The forest was not it either. There was a path between the palace and the fire. The old tellers call it the middle way. It was taught to him by Sujata before anyone had a word for it. He walked until he came to a pipal tree at a place called Uruvala, which we now call Bodh Gaya. He accepted a handful of kusa grass from a grass cutter, spread it as a seat, sat down facing east. And he made a vow. Though my skin should wither, though my sinew should dry, though my bone should crack, I will not rise from this seat until I have attained a gogming. The sun set. The one the tradition calls Mara came to stop him. He sent his 3 daughters first, craving, passion, aversion. They circled the tree and called to him in the voices of everything he had ever wanted. He did not move. They left. Mara sent his armies next, demons with weapons of fire and iron. Every weapon they hurled turned to flowers before it reached him. The flowers fell on his shoulders like a mantle. Finally, Mara came himself and asked the only question that had not yet been asked. Who sits on the seat of awakening? Who witnesses your worthiness? Siddhartha did not answer with words. He placed his right hand down, touched the earth. The earth answered for him. The earth goddess rose. She wrung out her hair. The water from her hair became a flood. The flood washed Mara and his armies away. This gesture, the right hand touching the earth, is Bhumisparsha Mudra. Every statue of the Buddha you have ever seen in that posture is frozen at this instant. He sat through the night. In the first watch, he saw every life he had ever lived before this one. In the second, he saw how every being comes and goes according to its deeds. In the third, he saw the chain of cause and effect that binds the world and saw it break.
And the moment the sky grew pale in the east at the dawn of Vaishakha Purnima, he understood fully, without remainder.
He was now the Buddha, the awakened one. He was 35 years old. What followed was not triumph, it was work. He walked to the deer park at Sarnath and found the 5 ascetics who had abandoned him, gave them his first teaching. All 5 became his first disciples. For 45 years, he walked the plains of North India. He ordained his own son Rahula, who had been an infant. When he left, he ordained his stepmother Mahapajapati, and she became the first Buddhist nun. He taught kings and beggars, a murderer named Angulimala, who wore a necklace of fingers, a mother named Kisa Gautami, who came asking him to bring her dead child back. He refused nothing and promised nothing. A mother named Kisa Gautami, who came asking him but promised nothing. He did not found a religion. He taught a method. He was 80 years old at a place called Vaishali when he told his disciples that in 3 months he would enter the final passing. At a village called Pava, a blacksmith named Kunda invited him to a meal. The dish was something the texts call Sukara Madhava. No one is sure what it was. The Buddha tasted it, then asked Kunda to serve none of it to the other monks and to bury what remained. He alone would eat it. He became ill. He continued to walk. At Kushinagar, he stopped. He could go no further. He asked Ananda to prepare a resting place between 2 sal trees. He lay down on his right side, head on his right hand, facing north. The sal trees, though it was not their season, bloomed. Their flowers rained down on him in a slow, continuous fall. One last man came, a wandering ascetic named Sabhada. He answered the man's question. Sabhada became the last disciple ordained in his lifetime. Then the Buddha spoke his last sentence. Vayadhama sankhara, apamadena sampadetha. All compounded things are subject to decay. Strive on with diligence. He closed his eyes. It was the full moon of Vaishakha, 80 years and 1 full moon since his mother had stood under another sal tree and held a branch and given birth. Tomorrow, if the sky is clear, you will see the same moon he saw. It has not changed. It rose on a woman holding a branch in a grove. It rose on a thin man touching the earth at dawn. It rose on the old teacher lying between 2 sal trees. It is rising on you now. He left 1 instruction, 2 short sentences. The first half is a diagnosis. Everything that has been put together will come apart. The second half is a prescription. So pay attention and do not waste the little while you have it. That is the day. There is nothing else to do. If you want to mark it, light 1 lamp at sundown on Sunday. Pour a bowl of water at the base of a tree, any tree. Sit for 5 minutes and do not check your phone. It will be enough. The kind of day this is, enough is the only unit of measure. So, back to the question I opened with. 3 events in the life of one man, all landing on the full moon of Vaishakha. A child's first breath, a seeker's first breath, a seeker's first awakening, a teacher's last exhale. We will never know if it actually happened this way. The earliest texts were written down 4 centuries after the Buddha died. What we know is that an entire civilization across 2,500 years chose to remember it like this, that one lunar phase was worthy of holding an entire human life. That may be the real teaching of Buddha Purnima, not that a miracle happened on one night, but that a life is a circle, that the moon that sees you born is the moon that sees you awaken is the moon that sees you go, that there is nothing you will feel in the years ahead that the boy born in Lumbini did not feel, and nothing he felt that you, on some quiet night, will not also understand. So light the lamp on Sunday, pour the bowl, sit for 5 minutes, that is the day. And then stay with us, because the full moon of Vaishakha is only the beginning of the cluster. 3 weeks later, a boy named Prahlada is saved from his own father by a god who is half man and half lion. That day is Narasimha Jayanti. A week after, a river too heavy for the earth finally touches the ground. That day is Ganga Saptami. And in early June, the next full moon rises over the mother of all rivers. That is Jyeshtha Purnima. We tell them all. If you want to walk through the sacred days of this year with me, one story at a time, subscribe, turn the bell on, new episode every Thursday at dawn. Until the next full moon,